Hi guys, this is Purely Math, and today we are going to be discussing what is a function. A function is a relation from a set of inputs to a set of possible outputs. This means that there will be unique x values. Okay, since you guys know what a function is, now you have to learn the multiple ways you can recognize between a function and a non-function through the different ways to represent it. There is an input and output matcher right there, in which the input is the x value, with an arrow pointing to the output, which is the y value. The x value pointing to the y value. Next, there is a table, kind of like the matcher, except that it's not in circles and there's no arrows. You just use the point that's next to it. So x is 0, 0. X then goes to 1, 1. You see just like little pairs. And then lastly is from graphing, which is just a graph of an equation. As you see right here, it's y equals x. First off, a matcher works through an input, which is the x value right there, having an arrow go out of it to an output value, which is a y value, creating a coordinate point. This works by, if you see two arrows going off of one of the input values, or you see a repeated input value with both having arrows out of them, then you know it's not a function. If this isn't the case, then it is a function. Let's take the example up here. Do we see any of the inputs repeated or having two arrows out of them? As we see, no. So this is a function, the first one. Let's go to number 1 right here. Now, are any of the input values repeated? No. But we do see two arrows coming out of the 2. So that would mean that this is not a function. And lastly, let's go to number 2. As we see, there are no repeated input values. And there is no two arrows going out of one of them. So this is a function. Next, a table works through a set of x values on the left side and a set of y values on the right side, creating coordinate points, 1, 1, as you would see right here, with each other, with the x and y value. This means if when looking at the table, if you see any repeated x values, there's none repeated right here, it would be not a function since it's not repeated. Now let's go down to number 1. Do we see any repeated x values? 1, 4, 5, 1. Oh, there's 2 1s. So that would mean this is not a function. And then lastly, let's go to number 2. Are there any repeated x values? 4, 5, 6, 9. No, so then this is a function. The last way is just a graph with an equation represented on it. As we see in the example right here, this is a linear equation. If you don't know what a linear equation is, click in the top right of your screen and I have a video on linear equations. Okay, back to it. How you figure out is through the vertical line test. When you move your hand across the graph, as you'll see, if you see any repeated x values, so the x is the x arrow right here. If you move your hand along it and you see any of the points that are repeated or the line, then it is not a function. As I move my hand across the example right here, I do not see any repeated values. So this is a function right here. Let's go to number 1. If I move my hand across it, oh, look right there. There's 2 that are repeated right there. So this would be not a function. And then lastly, number 2, we're going to go across it. And as I move my hand across, I do not see any repeated x values. So this is a function. Okay, I just wanted to give some quick practice to help you out. Pause the video and solve this out, and then I'll give the answers. Question: it is a function because there is no repeated x values and there's no diverging lines. The second one is not a function because there is diverging lines on number 4 for the inputs. Number 3 is a function because there's no repeated x value, 21, 3, and 4 not repeated. Number 4 is not a function because 7 is repeated. Number 5 is not a function because if you do the vertical line test, as you see, that's vertical and there's repeated x values. Lastly, number 6 is a function because if you do the vertical line test, there is no repeated x values.